1, 2, 3. Okay, beautiful.
Nice.
You scared the cat.
Definitely scared the cat.
Movie.
So, welcome to MOVIED. I am Jake. I am the keeper of the Pineapple Boy Films channel.
And he is Jake.
And that's Craig.
Oh, and I'm Craig, yes.
The keeper of Wheezy Waiter YouTube channel. And this is the first time we are going to, it's not live streamed, but this podcast will also be available on the WheezyNews channel on the YouTubes.
You can see it on WheezyNews.
What?
And this is a podcast that, just so for the Wheezy Newsers, this is a podcast that we've been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it's going to happen on here all the time now, on Wheezy News.
Tonight, we are going to be discussing a horror movie! Woo! Called The Rental.
Depending on your definition of horror, I guess.
Really? You wouldn't classify The Rental as a horror movie?
I guess I would.
I mean,
yeah.
I think it's questionable up until the last 20 minutes.
It certainly has its gore, and it has its
That's not what gore don't the horror make. It can, but that's not the qualifier for being a horror movie.
I'm thinking of gorer.
You're thinking of a gore movie for sure.
Yeah, okay.
This is a movie directed by Dave Franco, actor Dave Franco.
Did we say the name of the movie?
Yeah, I just said The Rental.
Okay, yeah.
The past 3 episodes, we were just choosing the number 1 movie on Netflix the week that we were doing the podcast.
Yeah.
And this week it was Kissing Booth 2, a sequel to a movie that my wife Eliza and I liked very much called The Kissing Booth. It's not about a booth that kisses people, guys. Come on.
Okay.
It's about a young woman who works a kissing booth and the misadventures she has through that. Very enjoyable.
It sounds like my kind of movie.
And that is exactly what you said in the text when I told you that. And I said, I kind of wish we were talking about The Rental, though, because I had previously rented The Rental. Like, when I tweeted about The Rental, this became like the whole who's on first of it all, the Abbott and Costello. Like, I'm really intrigued by The Rental. And they were like, what was did you have to return it? Like, all this, there was like a whole bunch of...
Hilarity.
Yeah. But I said, I haven't, because I've been thinking about it a lot. And you watched the trailer for both, and you were like, let's do The Rental. But
no, I actually didn't watch the trailer for either. I just briefly looked at what they were about.
Oh, okay.
But I was very glad to not watch the other one.
Well, because I don't know, 5 ago we did a kind of a Plenty of Fish in the Stream. Yeah, P.S. I Still Love You off of Netflix, and it really wasn't your scene. It's just not Craig's scene.
I mean, I'm not against rom-coms, but
you keep saying it.
No, of course I'm not. There's a lot of great ones.
Yeah, anyone that was made in the 90s.
No. Just that, particularly if it's going to be a teen rom-com, it's got to have something special going on for me to like it.
Like Heath Ledger.
Yes. Heath Ledger and that girl. 10 Things I Hate About You.
Julia Stiles. I loved Julia Stiles back in the day.
Yeah. It would help if I was a teen as well.
Sure.
To enjoy a teen rom-com. Which isn't going to happen again, I don't think.
Well, no, but probably not. I mean, it depends on, we don't know what technologies are going to arrive, obviously, but I would rather not be a teenager again.
No. Me neither. The only benefit would be to enjoy teen rom-coms.
And we are not talking about a teen rom-com today because Craig was like, let's watch The Rental. And that still holds up to our thing because guess what, Craig? The Rental has been the number 1 movie at the U.S. theatrical box office 2 weeks running. So
it holds up because we watch a number 1 something?
A number 1 movie in the country, yeah.
Okay, that's our criteria? I didn't know that was the criteria.
Well, it became the criteria when we started doing the Netflix thing. So this is still a movie that the country is at least going to the theaters to see, probably pretty irresponsibly. But
probably not that many people. It probably doesn't take that many to be number 1 in the box office.
Well, it's brought in the most amount of money for itself at drive-in movie theaters. It's playing at drive-in movie theaters. And when
this is a great drive-in movie theater movie, for sure.
I mean, kind of. I mean, horror movies are great at the drive-in, but this is largely an adult relationship drama, which we'll get to.
That's true.
Yes. And if you're going to the drive-in to do traditional drive-in fare other than watch the movie, which is all I ever do at drive-ins, but like, the idea that people go to the drive-in to make out in their cars.
What?
You do not want to do that to the rental.
They don't. Okay.
No. It's just gonna lead to some awkward relationship conversations potentially.
Yeah, but it could. You're right.
Listen to the movies that the rental beat at the U.S. theatrical box office over the last couple of weeks. It was number 1. This is for week 2, okay? So here's what came in number 1, The Rental. Here's what came in number 2, U.S. theatrical box office, The Goonies. Then Jurassic Park, then Back to the Future, and Grease. It beat all of these huge movies.
Well, it helps that it's new.
No.
I think.
No. It just shows you that this movie's better than Goonies, Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, and Grease. That's all it proves.
I don't know if that's true. But
yeah. That's what else can we? The data's right here, Craig. The data is right here.
Well, all right. So first, are we gonna say what we thought?
Well, do you want to briefly synopsize it in case people want to go check it out?
All right. Here's the synopsis.
Yeah.
It's a group of adults having adult relationship problems, and then suspense horror is involved. That's it. At an Airbnb. Yeah.
Okay. That was the least informative synopsis we've ever done on the show. So let's get into it.
Least spoilery.
Oh, for sure. That's 100% true. Also, guys, in case this affects your opinion, it certainly affected mine when I heard out whoever was involved. It's directed by Dave Franco, who is an actor in great movies like The Disaster Artist and Nerve and things like that. It stars Alison Brie, Dan Stevens. Those are the two that really drew me in because I love Dan Stevens from The Guest and Alison Brie from Community.
Wait,
and
Dan
Glow.
Stevens is he the guy from Downton Abbey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Matthew from Downton Abbey. That's who he is.
And Sheila Vann from Girl Who Walks Home Alone at Night, an amazing horror movie. And Jeremy Allen White, not sure who he is, and then some other folks. That's what drew me in case that affects any decisions people are making. Craig, would you recommend watching The Rental?
Absolutely. I thought it was great.
Hey!
Yes. Yeah. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. I would absolutely recommend it as well. I watched it twice.
Yeah.
I watched it once just because it was a movie I wanted to watch, and then when we decided to do this, I wanted to watch it knowing I was going to do a movie on it.
I'll tell you who didn't enjoy it. My wife, China, did not enjoy it.
Was not.
She said she thought it was good, like a well done movie, but she did not enjoy it.
No.
It was a little intense.
Did she watch the whole thing?
She did. Okay. Well, she looked at her phone for a lot of it. Because...
Okay, so similarly, Eliza was sitting next to me both times I watched this movie. The first time I watched with my friend Jill on a laptop, like over Skype. We watch horror movies together in quarantine, or semi-quarantine as it now is. And the second time she was sitting there too. Both times she was playing Animal Crossing.
Yeah. Was it intentional to avoid the tension of the movie?
Well, so she's just in a real Animal Crossing place. She came to it kind of late, and so she's been working on her island pretty hardcore. She's been traveling to other islands. It's just been a lot of fun for her. So whatever we do at night, she's also playing Animal Crossing. And it also makes it... I can watch pretty much... I can watch my horror movies or whatever because she's playing Animal Crossing. I
went hard on Stardew Valley, so instead of Animal Crossing, or before Animal Crossing came out. So... we should definitely do an episode of MOVIED on Stardew Valley versus Animal Crossing.
No.
First of all.
Neither of them are movies yet. No.
I don't care. Secondly, well, China definitely was on her phone intentionally to avoid... like, I don't like it, as you don't, when people are on their phone when a movie's happening.
I don't like it if it's a public arena. Like, I understand if it's at a home. Like, people can do whatever they want in their own homes. But at a public arena, show some respect to the people around you. Yeah.
But this time, totally understood. It was too intense. She had to go to the phone.
That blows my mind because I watched the entire Saw franchise sitting next to China, and she was not on her phone.
I don't understand. I think this... I was going to bring something like that up, but I didn't want to press the issue. But I assume it's just this it is maybe... I haven't seen all the Saw movies, but this is maybe more tense because it's feels more real.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and there's reasons for that. We'll get into that. So now, guys, you know what Craig and I think about. I loved it. I've seen it twice. I really enjoyed it. I'd call it a solid 4, at least 4, maybe 4.5 star movie.
Out of 5?
Out of 5, yeah.
Yeah, I would say the same. Exactly the same. 4, maybe 4.5.
Yeah. It's well worth your time if you dig adult, tension-filled relationship dramas that get kind of unexpectedly bloody, except expectedly because it's marketed as a horror movie.
Yes, sure.
It's actually surprising how long it takes to get to the horror.
Well, I was actually wondering because I didn't see all the marketing of it. Now we've ruined it for them. But I was wondering how bloody it was going to get because I assumed some, but I was like, I don't know.
You know what? And it wouldn't even have had to. I was enjoying the movie that it was before it became this other movie. But it wouldn't have had to. It feels completely integrated. It's not like they just toss a new tone in. It all feels of a piece.
Absolutely.
So I would check it out. Craig would check it out. Now we're going to go into spoilers. You have been warned. Craig, spoilers.
Well, it turns out, which is really weird, I did not expect this at all, but they were all aliens.
No,
which
Craig.
This is really weird.
No, Craig. That's a lie. That is a lie.
Oh, okay.
That's a lie.
I mean... I guess we watched a different movie.
No. You must have watched a very different movie because that's not...
I mean, it's still up for debate who's an alien and who isn't in this movie.
Are you talking illegal aliens? Because there is
That's
an
true.
There is an issue.
There's an issue.
There's a race issue in the movie that is beautiful at setting up all the early tension in the movie. Okay, so guys, let's get into this. For me, getting to this movie, I had read article in Fangoria, the new Fangoria magazine, where Seth Rogen interviewed Dave Franco about directing his first film. Really fun conversation. Obviously, Seth Rogen has directed a bunch of movies. Dave Franco is kind of taking him through. His cinematographer is a guy named Christian Spranger. He did Atlanta.
Cool.
Yeah, he did Glow. He did Guava Island, which is another Donald Glover project. Hey, man, anybody who knows Donald Glover, that's a good place to be. And, of course, all of Glow, the Netflix series. I love
knowing Donald Glover is all you need?
That's all I need. That's it.
If someone knows Donald Glover...
That's it. That's the whole thing.
They are a success in your eyes.
If you've seen Atlanta, it's a great-looking show.
Yeah. And I've only seen some of Atlanta, but yeah. I've seen some of the city of Atlanta as well.
Was it great-looking?
City.
Good.
Yeah, it was good. The parts I saw. Yeah.
I was super impressed with the way, especially watching it the second time too, the way that they made the light so naturalistic in this huge house during daylight hours, where everything is well lit but kind of shadowy inside, and it looks like it looks to the human eye. It's really hard to do, and you can see clearly all of the outside.
Yeah. It looked like a lot of natural light, but it probably wasn't.
It's such delicate balance getting that right, and they did that beautifully. And all of the night photography in this movie is just bonkers good looking.
Bonkers good. Yeah. I think that's what was the direction they gave. Make it look bonkers good.
Well, all of the back, way deep in scenes, they were lighting trees here and there to just give all of the night stuff depth, and also make it look kind of creepy while natural. It was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard to light night without it looking ridiculous.
Yeah,
because
night
just doesn't have light.
A couple people standing in complete blackness. It's hard to fill out an area, a large wooded area, to look like night.
Yeah. And they did it.
It was
foggy.
Oh yeah,
foggy when it needed to be foggy.
Yep. So take me through your experience, Craig, of the movie, because
all right,
because getting into it, you weren't quite sure what all to expect because you hadn't watched a trailer, you hadn't read the Fangoria article, you hadn't Dave Franco's now been on Dak Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast. Really fun episode talking about the movie. So you have consumed none of this.
One of the only things I knew about it was what you told, because you pointed it out to me before I saw it, was that it was written by the guy who wrote Drinking Buddies.
Yeah, so co-written by Dave Franco and Joe Swanberg. Joe Swanberg is big in the indie, now mainstream kind of relationship drama scene. Yeah,
and Drinking Buddies is about a group of adults who have who brew beer, who have a brew pub. Basically, it's basically Revolution Brewery in Chicago, but not. Yeah. And it's in Chicago, and they have kind of a relationship issue with each other, and it's all adulty. It's just real adulty. Yeah. Like more like a realistic adult, what it would be like to be a realistic adult in Chicago, than most movies would be.
Yeah, so it was like right up our alley. I mean,
yeah. And
I don't remember who the dudes were, but it was Anna Kendrick and Olivia Wilde were the ladies in it.
Yep. And the dude he's in Jurassic World. He's in
Chris Pratt.
No. What else is he in? Anyway,
it wasn't Jake Johnson. Jake Johnson?
I don't know his name. I wouldn't even. I think is he in
New Girl?
What's the one with
Zooey Deschanel? It's New Girl. It's Jake Johnson.
No. Safety Not Guaranteed. That guy.
Mark Duplass?
Is that Mark Duplass? Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to look up Drinking Buddies because now it's killing me. Jake Johnson is the main guy. Anyway, he's amazing. He's from Chicago, and he's also a New Girl. He's the guy I was talking about. He and Joe Swanberg have teamed up a bunch. Like, Eliza and I like Drinking Buddies, but we liked even more Digging for Fire, which is a movie that they did together in L.A.
Yeah.
And again, it's about adults having relationships. That's what
adults just adulting around.
Yeah, so Joe Swanberg also did the Netflix series Easy.
Jake Johnson is in Safety Not Guaranteed, by the way. He's the main guy in it, basically. You know?
I thought that was Mark Duplass. Yeah. Man, was I out on a limb.
Anywho, we're a roundabout way of saying this movie is that for most of the movie. Yeah. It's adults getting an Airbnb. They want to get away for the weekend. A couple of them, not the couple, two separate couples, but they're a successful, probably startup app business.
Yeah, they just got their seed funding.
Portland, and
although it really upset me that I rented it on Apple TV, and their subtitles for this movie especially were really dodgy. It said I heard them say, since the seed funding just came through, we should celebrate, but it said seat funding, and I was like, guys. Guys,
come on, guys.
They have places to sit already.
Their business is not raising money for chairs.
That's
not the business.
No, I don't presume.
Yeah, we got the seat money. Oh, thank goodness. No, but they're just getting away for a weekend. It's Matthew from Downton and other person from something you liked.
Allison Brie from Glow, dude. Community.
No, not her. The other.
Oh yeah,
the other
Mina.
Woman.
So
Mina.
Mina is the character name, and I forget her real name now, but she's super cool.
Mina and Matthew are in separate couples, but they're the successful business people, and it's very clear from the very, very beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
they're more than just friends. They're more than just business partners.
Well, they're like the way that she's like hanging off his shoulder while they're looking at possible Airbnbs for a weekend getaway with their
you think they're the
others.
couple?
Yeah, immediately until her boyfriend walks in,
and then tell Matthew's brother, her boyfriend, walks in and kisses her, and it's like, whoa!
Heyo!
It was like a switcheroo right at the beginning, which was intriguing. It was very intriguing, and it was such a subtle switcheroo that there's a little bit of wonder in the back of my mind, like, wait, did I just assume the wrong thing and no one else assumed that? Like, if I need to watch that again to see why I would have assumed that.
Yeah.
But then you think about it, it's like, oh no. They did that on purpose.
Absolutely.
They wanted you to think that they were
putting it in your head immediately. Yeah. And then they also was not super subtle, but it's a great way to get it out. The power dynamics already at play. Mm-hmm. You know, these two are in a company that just has some things to celebrate, and it's worth celebrating very expensively because the Airbnb they're looking at is insanely expensive.
Yeah.
And then when her brother comes in to give her a ride, home, he's like, does she need to check in on the app, or can you just take her home for free? Like, this guy's a Lyft driver, so okay. So these people are successful, this guy's driving for Lyft, and you've already set up the dynamics of the brotherly relationship.
Yeah, the super successful, once British royalty, or brother versus the Lyft driver. Yeah. Brother.
Well, Matthew was never about the money, Craig. Come on.
That's true. And it wasn't technically royalty, was it?
No, I don't think he was royalty.
Anyway, no. It was, but very rich.
But Downton's great.
Earldom.
Yeah.
Earldom.
Yeah.
If you're an earl, is that part of royalty? I don't think that's.
I mean,
royalty.
it's part of the hierarchy, but I don't think it's royalty.
Okay.
I mean, it's technically of the. It's yeah. I don't know, Craig. To answer your question, I'm out of my depth.
That's going to be our new podcast.
Yeah, is this
what
royalty?
Is royalty? What is royalty? Or is this?
Oh, what?
He is landed gentry.
Matthew is landed gentry.
Well, he's the heir.
And that is
He's
not.
the heir to land. He's the heir to landed gentry.
Is that not part? You would not
is
call
that a
that
part of
royalty or
royalty,
part of the
Eliza?
monarchy?
Technically, yes, but he'd probably be like 150th to the throne.
Okay.
So it is technically royalty.
Technically royalty, but deep royalty.
Yeah,
He's
I
deep
guess
on the
it's
bench.
royalty. I guess it's royalty in the sense that we are also democracy. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, royalty and democracy are not opposing things. Never mind. Anywho, they go to this Airbnb. Mina, the woman who's one of the successful of the two.
Yeah.
She tried to book it, didn't get the booking.
And in the car, they discuss whether or not that is because she has a Middle Eastern last name and is non-white, is what they discuss in the car. And I thought this was beautifully done, too. Dave Franco, great fucking job. Because most of the conversation is shot from her perspective. While they're having this conversation, Dan Stevens is like, we don't know if this guy's a racist. He might have been some booking canceled, might have been something else. Like, well, let's just give this guy the benefit of the doubt. And Mina's boyfriend, Josh, so it's Charlie is Dan Stevens. He is partners with Mina. And then Michelle is Charlie's girlfriend, played by Alison Brie. Josh is Charlie's brother. So I'm going to go with character names today instead of actor names.
Okay.
Charlie, Michelle, Mina, Josh. So Charlie's like, let's come on. We don't know what this guy's deal was. And Josh is like, oh yeah, let's give this random white dude the benefit of the doubt. And he's like, let's give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Charlie's like, we don't know. And the entire while that whole conversation's happening, you're just watching Mina watch them. She's the only person for like half of that conversation on camera. And I thought that was super, super cool.
Yes, it was very well done. And they show up. The old dude who runs the place, he doesn't own it, but he runs it.
But he pulls up in a pickup, and he's got like a battered work jacket and a cap. And he's an older gentleman named Toby, I think. And Taylor is the character name.
Taylor, yes. And he's a little weird, a little off, and there's a little bit of race tension going on there in that conversation.
But they did this beautifully too, because as soon as before he says anything to Mina, she's standing here and she goes, "Is this your place?" Like that, and he's like, oh, why you gotta say it like that? So she fires first, basically calling him too lowbrow to own a place like this. It's not his place, it's his brother's place, who has a business in San Francisco, and Taylor rents it out for him, manages the Airbnb aspect. But she did fire first. And so after that, he starts being obviously racist to her.
There's only a little, it's not. He just says, "What are you doing with this? How did you find these people?"
Yeah, he's like, "How'd you end up with this group?" And
how'd you end up with this group?
Obviously singling her out.
Yeah, that's the only instance of it, though, isn't it? I don't know if there's another instance.
Oh, well, so he mimics her words back to her then, because she said, "I didn't mean anything by it," and she's like, "Well, what does that mean?" And he's like, "Oh, I didn't mean anything by it." And so they had that little thing, but then she blatantly calls him out, being like, "Hey, do you manage the rentals on this? Because I tried to rent it an hour before, and then this guy, a white guy, got it an hour later." And just
does it. He's just kind of he doesn't explain anything. He doesn't say a reason.
Yeah.
He's dismissive of it.
Yeah.
Which I don't. Yeah. I can't read into that what he actually did. I don't know.
He looks her in the eye. The way the guy who played Taylor played it was so beautiful, because It's this dude, he could easily be a racist. And the way that he delivers each line, you can interpret either way. It's a guy being called for racism and doesn't want to have the conversation, or an actual racist.
Yeah, true.
And but it's so tense. And you establish right there that Mina cannot just let something go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's one of the big things. That moment does a lot of things, but one of those is like it shows who Mina is. Like she's going to confront with her thoughts about anything.
Absolutely. You know? She's not going to walk away from an uncomfortable conversation. And she's going to let that guy know that he's not getting away with anything.
Yeah. Which is really good because the way she behaves later is just, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like...
This immediately, her actions in that moment immediately justify her actions through the rest of the movie.
Yeah. So, yeah. Do we want to... Are we just going to go through the whole movie? What are we doing here?
I mean, we can. I mean, so, like, at that point in the movie, I was like, okay, so now we know Taylor lives just up the road in case they need anything. Alison Brie forgot her telescope to look at the stars over the ocean, so he's going to drop by and leave one. Like, all these pieces are set in place. And then you just see... They weren't supposed to have a dog, either. The Airbnb listing said no dogs. Josh brings his dog. That was my first moment of tension in the movie. When I saw Josh loading a dog in to go to an Airbnb that did not allow dogs, my stomach was in a knot. I do not like people blatantly ignoring the rules of agreements that they're making.
And if you didn't know that this was marketed as a horror movie up to this point, you might have still assumed it was, but only because of the music. Yeah. Like, just because of, like, tense music happening every once in a while.
Yeah, it's got a good, tense horror score. Yeah. Very, very subtle and minimal, though, too.
Yeah. And so they're developing, like, this situation where Michelle, Alison Brie, right?
Yeah.
Her and Josh talk and about how Mina and Charlie are a little friendly sometimes. A little too friendly.
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable. And Michelle, like, makes a joking remark, but also serious at the same time. Like, she hates it with every fiber of her being. But it's all right, blah blah blah. You know.
Yeah. They have their own creative thing. There's a lot of value in being the other person, the person who they come to for love and support. You know. Yeah. They can have their creative thing and this thing, and he's not cheating on me, and she's not cheating on you, and that's that. And that's true. For now.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe something did happen before.
Oh, I don't know. You know. There's no way something happened before. No.
I don't know about that.
I know about that. I think they were crossing the boundaries of familiarity, but I don't think they'd ever gotten physical.
I don't know. I don't think they ever got that physical, but maybe they got somewhat before. You don't know.
I don't think they ever kissed before.
I don't think there's any way to know that.
I think based on the evidence of the movie, which is coming up, that I don't think they had ever kissed before.
I don't know. The way they do kiss later.
Okay, let's get to it. Let's go.
They all do all sorts of things, but with the first time they kiss, it looked pretty familiar to me.
No way, dude. No.
Like they didn't even hesitate. Didn't even cross their mind to be like, stop, or well, should we do this, or whatever. It was just they just did it.
Several factors come into play in this, but I do believe that
they were on ecstasy for sure.
So like later after they do the walk to the beach, everybody's having dinner. They're having like whatever conversations, planning a hike for the next day, like real. Just grown-ups having dinner on a table stuff, having some wine, talking about hikes, you know. This is what we do sitting around a table. Mm-hmm. Well, it's what me and Eliza do. I don't know. Have we ever been on a hike? Oh, yes, in Austin. Okay.
We did. Yeah, this is what adults do.
Yeah.
This is just what we do.
But then at that point, and I'm sure a lot of adults do this too. It's just not at the parties I go to. Alison Brie is like, or Amina's like, hey, don't we have something else we're gonna do tonight, Michelle? And Michelle's like, aren't we gonna do that tomorrow night? And she's like, okay, let's do it. And then she pulls out this bag of, I believe the kids call it Molly. Back in old man's times, we called it ecstasy.
Yes.
And
they called it both in this movie, actually.
And they're like, let's do this. Let's get this lit up because Dan Stevens, also known as Charlie, I said I was going to use character names. Charlie, it's how they met. Charlie and Michelle met on ecstasy while Charlie was being what they call a dancing queen on the floor. And they're just going to relive the past. They're going to do some ecstasy tonight. Fun side story, after listening to both Allison Bree's and Dave Franco's episodes of Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard and Monica Padman, their true life love story begins on ecstasy.
Oh, so interesting.
Little bit of true life there, a little bit of biography.
Okay. Sure. So far to me, this is like a decent adult drama.
Yeah,
kind of. I mean, it's without the tense music and the creepy nature of everything going on around them.
Yeah,
I'd probably be kind of bored with this movie.
Okay, but the other elements are kind of pulling you in, that you know something's coming up that's not going to be great. Yeah. Like the strange cabin in the woods sort of feeling. Yeah. Like
because otherwise it doesn't really have a lot going on other than like just these relationship things.
But I mean,
that don't even seem that problematic.
In that way, it feels a lot like the Swanberg movies. It feels a lot like Drinking Buddies or Digging for Fire or an episode of Easy. Like it is people. It doesn't have the same improvisy type quality to it. Improvisorial, is that a word?
I don't know.
Improvisorial. Anyway, it doesn't have that quality that Joe Swanberg's movies do, where the actors are actively, I believe, making up dialogue as they go and it feels that way. It feels like a conversation.
It definitely feels more scripted. It feels more like straightforward, I guess.
This definitely has a scripted feel to it.
So
but it's also like in that way, like all of the things that they do to set up the moments that come later and establish power dynamics, they even overdo it a little bit, because after we've already established that Josh is a Lyft driver and Charlie is having this great business success, like they have this whole conversation in bed, him and Allison Brie, where he's like, well, he did get out of prison. He does have this violent problem with violence. He tried to beat that guy half to death, like, so that's a rather large stone thrown in the pond, like that sounds a lot of ripples. It wasn't as subtly done as the Lyft driver conversation, but that's fine, because that's information we needed. Now we know it. And there's something about the performances in that in the second viewing, it kind of felt like I was seeing people not quite, it felt like I was seeing people trying too hard. It didn't feel as natural watching it the second time as it did the first time.
Well, Matthew's he's British.
That's what it was. It was just him trying to act around the accent.
That's not his real voice. He belongs in Downton.
No, dude, no. If you
early seasons
you and
of
me
Downton
are gonna watch The Guest, because he is amazing in that. Guys, I think it's on Netflix right now. The Guest is, as I told Craig at our last top 5 of the decade. It was one of my top 5 of the decade. And it's Mary Poppins meets the Terminator. So check that shit out.
I gotta see that. Yeah.
But I would love to watch that with you, even if it's over StreamYard.
So but it did feel like at certain times, certain line deliveries really felt like the curtain was pulled back, and like, I see what you're trying to do. Like it's like it's very scripted. Yeah. But like I can feel it. But it's not terrible. But it was just like, okay. What's gonna happen?
Yeah. So Allison Brie goes to bed early. She's like, save enough ecstasy for me to have some tomorrow night, and we'll all party tomorrow night. But tonight I'm tired. I want to go on this hike tomorrow. So it's just Charlie, Mina, and Josh staying up. Then they all go out to look at the stars. Once again, Josh gets condescended to by Charlie a little bit for intelligence. Blah 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 blah. Josh goes inside to take care of the dog for a second, and clearly at that point, Mina is looking at Charlie in that dreamy, like, isn't he so dreamy kind of way, as they're talking about how talented they are. And like, it's so skin crawly. You're like, don't do it. And then Josh falls asleep on the couch.
Now that we're doing video for this podcast, I can do things like this I'm pulling my collar and going,
slow news day.
Yeah.
So, Josh falls asleep on the couch. Mina and Charlie get in the hot tub, still drinking. Bad news, guys. Bad news.
I think I said out loud when they started to approach each other, like, get away from each other.
Yeah. Me too. I was like, first of all, don't be in the hot tub. Second of all, stop drinking. Third of all, like, as soon as he was like, you know what's great? These jets on my back. You're so talented too. Ooh, smoochy, smoochy. Except no smoochy yet. And then she's like, give me the jets. Give me the jets. So she comes over to the jets. He transfers over. I'm like, close one, guys. That was a little too close for comfort. And then he's like, give me the jet. She's like, no. And then he's like, well, share the jets. And then they're just sharing the jets. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Here we go. And that feels like that whole dynamic is so Swanberg movie. Like you're watching every step on the road to the bad decision, you know?
Yeah. They're making up reasons to be around each other and like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then they're kissing in the hot tub.
We skipped over I think something that happened before this, which it was amazing. Was Allison Brie sleeping on the bed?
Oh yeah.
And
So first, when they're settling in, she's like unpacking her clothes, folding them, and she sees just a little bit of black schmutz, just some dirt on the bed in the middle of the bed, and she wipes it away, and she's like, And then Craig,
I didn't even notice that. I didn't remember that.
Yep.
But she's sleeping on the bed, and then like a spray of wet dirt, like a light spritz of wet dirt,
a schmutz
hits her face while she's sleeping, and she just kind of moves a little and then keeps sleeping, and then it shows the vent on the ceiling right above her.
And then through the vent. And then you're looking through the vent at Allison Brie sleeping in the bed.
Yeah.
And at that point, then you're like, okay, there's some business going on here.
There's something.
And also, Taylor dropped off the telescope before they even started doing ecstasy, before even dinner. They were out walking on the beach having that conversation. And Taylor drops off the telescope. When they get back in, Mina's like, no one thinks this creepy at all. Like, he's just gonna come in, enter as he pleases, and she's like, sorry, I'll let it go. But like everybody else is just willing to let Taylor be Taylor, and Mina's the only one seeing this guy for the entitled older white man that he is being portrayed to be.
Yes. But that dirt spritz on the face was like the most subtle, creepy thing I've ever seen. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
It was really good.
That was like, and China was watching, and she was like, oh, I think that's where she started checking out. She was like, nope. Like, and it's just a tiny little dirt spritz on the face. It was very subtle, very good.
And a little bit of music, and that's all it takes.
The movie's filled with little things like that leading up, which keep you going, which keep you interested.
But also, like, I was just invested in like the relationships too, it's like watching that step-by-step bad decision thing, the slow motion car crash that you're watching happen had me invested because
I was interested in that too. But
and I especially like Mina because Charlie didn't have a ton of characteristics to him. Josh had a ton of character, and Allison Brie, Michelle, was hyper underwritten for the entire first half of the movie. Like, all she was there was to be Charlie's non-Mina.
Well, she seemed like, in general, throughout the movie, she's just seemed like someone who wants to do the right thing.
Well, she really comes into her own in the second half.
Responsible. Yeah. She's just responsible and wants to be supportive and do the right. She just seems like a sunny, good person.
But like, but it's so in such a generic way. It's like when she plays Annie Edison on Community, she's so vibrant. You know, she's so electric. And then when she's on Glow and she's playing Ruth, Ruth is not vibrant or electric, but she's super interesting and her own kind of slow motion car crash, you know? And you're watching her do all these things, and then she becomes vibrant and electric when she becomes Zoya the Destroyer. Have you seen Glow?
I have not, but I've been meaning to for a while now.
So good.
Yeah.
Seasons 1 and 2 are incredible, and season 3 is very good as well. But this whole first half of this movie, all she is there to be is Charlie's girlfriend and Josh's confidant. And she has nothing other than ecstasy and a water backpack for her hike tomorrow. She has no real character.
Well, I don't know. I kind of got the impression. To me, she was like, she had a character. It was, she's good, but she's like repressed. She's just like it felt like she was trying she was the one who was really trying to make everything work all the time. I just got the impression that she was like
the fixer.
Yeah, like things were not necessarily perfect for her, but she was hiding that, and she was just trying to make everything work.
Yeah.
So
I didn't get that, but I do think she came to life like crazy in the second half of the movie, and I love everything that she did in it. I thought it was really believable and fantastic. So they're kissing in the hot tub. The dog starts barking. It stops them. It pulls them back to reality for a fucking second.
That doesn't mean that their feet were hurting. Not that slang term.
What?
My dogs are barking.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. The dog was actually barking, just so you know.
Yeah, they hadn't even gone on a hike yet. Their feet don't need to hurt. They were in a car all day.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Driving to the Airbnb.
Yeah.
Unless the walk on the beach. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So she's like, I think maybe it's time to call it a night. And she gets out of there. And Dan Stevens is like, okay. And then she goes to take a shower. What up? Steamy camera. And in comes Charlie. And he is. And they start kissing in the shower. And the kissing leads to more stuff than that. And then we're in the next morning. The next morning, man, they are hurting. Allison Brie is bopping around the kitchen because she didn't do any drugs, and she's getting ready for her awesome hike. And I also don't. No, never mind. I'm not gonna get into that whole thing. I was gonna talk about husbands writing and directing for wives, because I feel like Eliza also had to put up with a lot of this. But I'm wondering in the series that we did. But I feel like because. Maybe it's because there are so many aspects to relationships that it's hard to characterize the person you're writing for your spouse. It took a long time, I think, for Virginia to get storylines.
Who's married?
Dave Franco, the director, co-writer of this movie, is married to Allison Brie.
And wait, why? What was the issue here then?
So I was saying,
let's get into it.
Like maybe that had something to do with her lack of character. Like they needed someone for that role, like for that position.
I didn't see it as lack of character to me. Like honestly, like I got the impression that she was someone who, like, especially because of that walk on the beach where she talks about how like they're a little friendly. And the way that she joked through it, like she joked through it as a way to hide it, that she was actually concerned about it.
I don't know. It felt subreal to me. It didn't feel like, and maybe it's just because I'm so into like the things that Allison Brie has done, and she just wasn't having like a ton to work with here. That I was overanalyzing it because of that.
Maybe
that's.
I feel like her character was exactly who she should have been for that. Okay. For the first half of the movie, like I didn't feel like it was underwritten to me.
Cool.
Like I don't know.
There you go. So the next day they're gonna go on a hike. Mina and Charlie are looking just about run over, and they're all sitting around a table. And Josh is like, let's go. And Mina's like, I can't. I feel like garbage. And Charlie also bows out. But Mina and Josh go, and Mina's pissed. No, Michelle. Michelle and Josh go, and Michelle's pissed. She's like, fine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, tonight you're cooking, and I'm getting fucked up. And out the door she goes. That's like kind of when I started feeling her character pick up, but for the whole time she was fine for you. So,
yeah.
And right after they leave.
Wait, what does that say about you, Jake, that a character has to be interesting because they're angry?
Yeah.
Is that, what is that?
That's probably something about me, Craig. That's probably just like it's probably something about me.
I guess so.
I guess we're just going to have to leave that unexplored. And I feel like I feel so. Right after they leave, Charlie and Mina have a conversation about the night before, and she's like, "We're smarter than that." That's another reason why I don't think they did anything before. And
I still think they could have done something. They just didn't do that much before.
No, we're gonna. Okay. This is like.
There's no way to prove that.
No, there's not. Exactly. And this is one of those things where you're going to have your opinion, I'm going to have my opinion, and we're just going to be Republicans and Democrats on this. So, like, and she's like, it can never happen again. He's like, I agree. And you could, like, they're being sincere in that moment, which is why when she hops in the shower again immediately, I was like, oh my God, he's going to follow her into this. The first time we were watching this, I yelled, stop taking showers. And she immediately heeds that advice because she's not in that shower. We're not in that shower with her so that there's going to be another sex scene. Instead, she notices something in the shower head.
What does she notice?
Oh, it's a pinhole
She notices
camera.
a camera. Here's the thing. Here's one issue. I feel like the camera was too obvious looking. Like
it shouldn't have been red tinted.
Yeah. I feel like that would have been seen by lots of people. You know,
I don't know that I ever look at the shower head.
I know, and that's the way I kind of justified it. I tried to think about it, like, well, would I have noticed something like? I don't know that I would necessarily would have noticed something.
Actually,
I guess I wouldn't have cared.
True. In an Airbnb, I always look at the shower head.
Yeah,
because I want to judge the kind of shower that I'm going to be taking.
Yeah,
like
and after this movie, you will be looking at the shower head.
Yeah,
for
absolutely,
sure.
No question about it.
Yeah, but I just felt like it was a little like if. Not necessarily that, like, I buy that they didn't notice it.
Yeah.
But the person who put it in, I feel like they would have done a better job to try to hide it.
Yeah, especially the guy we eventually find out about. I feel like he would have done a better job. Like, it's not a destroyer. It's not a movie destroyer.
No.
Like, it's not going to derail your enjoyment of the movie that this is a...
But I also I don't know that I would have assumed it was a camera right away looking at it either. Like everyone's looking at it like, oh yeah, that's a camera.
Well,
like
see, they're in tech, so like Charlie and Mina are in the tech world, and I would look at that, and it's so obviously not a piece of the shower head. Like it is, like you're saying, obvious. It's obvious if you're looking at the shower head. There's one hole in the shower head that's not spraying and it's bright red and glassy. Like it's like that's gonna draw the eye. And in tech, you're already thinking about small mini cameras and stuff. And we just need to move the movie forward at this point. So I'm glad there wasn't a whole debate about it. People look at it and they're like, that's a camera, and they run around looking for more cameras.
Well, I think that's the reason why it was like, I feel like they could have spent more time making it harder to find, and something happened that she found it, but then that would have slowed the movie down too.
Yeah, so that would have just been slowing her down. And I gotta tell you, this movie is an hour and 26 minutes. I love an under 90-minute movie, like a 90-minute or less. Beautiful.
I feel like pacing and not being boring to me are the most important things in a movie. Yeah, and this is great at those. It's great at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And laying groundwork that doesn't feel super obvious. They do and don't. So like that's touch and go. Also earlier, before, I'm just gonna drop this in here. Earlier when they're exploring the house, right when they get there, they find this door with an electronic padlock under it. And like you're like, oh, and Mina's like, oh, that's creepy. Like under the house. Which is it's like a house on stilts on a cliff, so like it's not hard to get under the house. Like the dog's ball went under. That's why they found it. They justified that. So that door exists.
Yeah. Well. Also, I really like. Well, I like couple issues to bring up with that. I'll jump ahead, and I'll jump to now. Ooh. When they see the door, I like the little joke where he puts in 666 to see if it opens it, and it doesn't. That was a nice little subtle joke. That was good humor right there.
So they are also throwing in like darkness, elements of suspected darkness all throughout it. So that you're not...
Yeah, they're legitimately all creeped out anyway. Well, not all of them. Mina's creeped out, and Josh is creeped out by that door.
Yeah.
But it seems like Michelle doesn't have a care in the world. Like she's like everything's fine.
Yeah, just standing in an Airbnb doing some drugs, hiking.
Charlie's kind of that way too, though. Charlie's like, he doesn't seem to... He's trying to justify everything all the time.
Yep.
He's
like, everybody's actions and trying to not make a thing out of anything. Like when Mina even confronts Taylor in the beginning, he's like, "Oh, wait," he's like trying to be like, "It's okay, we know." And then when the guy leaves, he's still like, "Okay, thank you so much." He's like trying to smooth. He's always trying to smooth things over.
And I'm only realizing this now that like that character trait is what carries through to the very end, and it's his downfall entirely.
Yep.
Which is he's like constantly trying to be like everything's cool, even when there's a murder, everything's cool. Yeah. Like let's just deal with this. I can control this. Like we're fine.
So they see the camera in the shower, then they're like, and then Dan.
But another thing I wanted to mention though was that doorway. I'm gonna just spoil what happens. But okay,
that's fine. No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, the doorway, the number pad thing, like that ends up not really being a thing anyway.
Yeah,
like later on, it
leads to nowhere.
It's a red herring. They open it up and Josh comes across some creepy pictures that we don't see.
Never see. Yeah,
but it's like whoa, like which is really intriguing because that's like a setup for a sequel right there.
Yeah,
but it doesn't actually lead anywhere.
I also don't think the sequel would have anything to do with this house or the owners or anything, like based on where we go.
No, but the pictures would probably have something to do with the guy who's involved in this house.
I don't think so. No. We'll get to that. But
okay.
But so like, as soon as they see that there's a camera in this one shower, Charlie runs to the shower that they were having sex in the other night and sees that there's a camera in there as well. And Mina's like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be sick. I'm calling the cops." And he's like, "You can't call the cops because if you call the cops, then they're gonna find out." Like he'll show them the footage, and then Josh and Michelle will know what happened. And we just need to ignore it. We need to ignore it.
Yeah.
No one's ever gonna see it. This guy's a pervert. That's undeniable. And she's like, "Taylor, I can't believe Taylor's gonna be sitting there watching us in the shower."
And that's Charlie's MO. He's like, "Yeah, we're just gonna. That's fine.
Ignore it.
Just not do anything.
Ignore it.
Yeah, we're fine. Ignore it.
Yeah. And so at the same time as this is happening, or just before, Michelle and Josh are on the are out on the hike that she planned, and Michelle finds out that Charlie has a history of meeting his next girlfriend while he's still in a relationship with his previous girlfriend. Happened with Michelle. Happened with Zoe, the girl he dated before.
Also being on drugs.
Yep. So. So she takes that a little hard, especially considering the way he acts around Mina all the time in her line of sight. And that conversation ends with her getting upset and they're heading off on the hike. And this shot was awesome. Like, because the whole time they've been kind of shooting, not the whole time, but occasionally they're shooting like a person single through something so that the anamorphic screen, is it anamorphic?
The screen?
Yeah, did they shoot in 235 or did they shoot in like 16:9?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember either. At any rate, like sometimes part of the screen's cut off so you're not seeing the full wide frame just by something in the foreground. And this time they're in the woods. It's a wide shot of her being upset and Josh following her off. And the whole right side is like blocked by a tree or something, except as soon as they leave the frame, the tree moves. It's a bit of a person who's watching them.
Yeah.
And that was another cool, like, it's just like this thing blocking frame in the foreground, and it turns out that it's it's a person.
A lot of stuff like this in this movie that, when you describe it, it sounds like it could be cheesy. But, like, the way it's handled in the movie is very subtle and very nice.
Yeah, it's so well done.
It's really good.
Yeah, like, it's used, like, that is a, like, horror movie like trope, kind of like this thing in the foreground moves and then you know that someone's been watching them or whatever. But the way that it's done here, you don't expect it. You don't see it coming because this is a scene about like relationship elements in the movie. And then they bring in just this little touch of something else is coming for you, you know?
Yeah, and that's like, well, it's another good thing about the movie is that the actual interrelationship drama happening is the core of the movie. It's not like a reason. It's not just like a reason to have characters who are going to die.
Yeah,
which is like most horror to me.
I know,
but
Craig thinks that's most horror, and it's a lot of slasher movies. Honestly, slasher movies are basically this. Basically, what Craig's talking about: characters being lined up to be annoying and then watching them die.
Yeah, and this is not that. This is the core of this is the interpersonal relationships. So that, and then the way they drop in the horror elements is so well balanced. It's so good.
Right. So while Charlie and Mina are arguing in the house about whether they need to tell someone or whether they just need to let it be, no one else is ever going to see it. It's just that one guy who rents this one house, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Michelle and Josh pull up in the car, and Mina's like, come on. And it has that feeling of it like, they just need a little more time so she can make an informed decision and not just be pressured into going along with Charlie because he says this is what's right, you know? But she doesn't have that time because they come through the door and Michelle is immediately pissed at Charlie and they start having that argument, and Josh and Mina are just hanging out. They start watching TV.
Yeah. And then Michelle wants to get fucked up.
Yeah, she wants to get lit. And, but also, they left the dog out in the morning. And they were like, hey, would you go... When they're taking off on the hike, it's Josh's dog. Josh is like, would you let... What's the dog's name, Liz? Reggie. Would you let Reggie in? Because in case Taylor comes by, I don't want him to see him because Taylor still doesn't know that they have a dog in the Airbnb. Again, my biggest point of tension in the movie. And they completely forgot about Reggie. So Josh is like, hey, where's Reggie? And Mina, the way that Sheila plays this, the actress Mina, plays the realization that she not only betrayed her boyfriend by sleeping with his brother, but that she also forgot about his dog all day. Like, on her face, the devastation is so real. She's so good in this movie.
She's great, yeah.
They run out. Reggie is gone. Reggie is not tied up anywhere. He's gone. And so Josh is like, Taylor took him. Michelle, boom, I'm taking some drugs. She gets on the Molly, and she's dancing around. This is when delightful Alison Brie appears. I'm not advocating for drugs, guys.
So it's not that someone has to be angry to be an interesting character to you. It's someone has to be angry or on drugs.
Those are the only two interesting things, Craig. There's two things that are interesting in this life. One is anger, one is drugs. That's it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not advocating for either.
Don't do drugs.
I don't like that. No.
WheezyNewsers, don't do drugs.
No.
Don't do
and
them.
Nobody else either. Movie-ders.
And movie-ders, don't do them.
No.
But
please.
I'm looking at the camera when I say movie-ders, but you're not seeing it. But okay.
There's probably a Venn diagram somewhere.
Probably. Yeah.
But so Michelle is the only one having a good time now, and she's doing it alone because they're all running around looking for the dog. Charlie's still trying to convince Mina to calm down about everything. Michelle tries to get in the hot tub. No go. It's broken. So she calls Taylor. So Taylor's on his way to the house. Charlie's telling Mina, look,
Taylor?
Yeah, we got to not do anything. Josh is like, he took Reggie. I'm going to ask. He must have seen Reggie and taken him. So all of a sudden, it's all building to this head. And we're like, oh my gosh. And now we're starting to get to where I expected the movie to be, you know? I expected Taylor to like have to come in and start dealing with these like coastal elites, you know? Because he's dressed like a working man, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought that was the tension we were building up the whole time.
Yeah.
But here is where, again, the writing and the performances and the direction are so good because he just fixes the hot tub. He says, when Josh confronts him, he's like, no, I'm just trying to figure out why you had a dog in here in the first place. But no.
Yeah. He doesn't get that angry about it. He's just like, well, I have a dog.
Like, it says in the agreement you're not supposed to. He fixes the hot tub, lickety-split.
He's also kind of drunk.
A little bit. He's been drinking on his couch all day.
Yep.
But then, this is the beautiful thing. He's going to his truck to leave. Mina's outside. She's the only one. Josh is out of earshot. Everybody else is. And he is the one who starts the conversation. He's like, hey, I got 2 dogs at home. I hope you find your dog. I'm not going to rat you out. He's trying to be just a nice guy. All of a sudden, Taylor's being a nice guy.
I don't think he was ever not being a nice guy, really. He just had call me Charlie, the guy who's like trying to smooth everything over.
Yeah.
I think he had some moments where I'm like, I don't know if there's everything's on the level with this guy, but most of the time he was generally nice.
Yeah. So he's like, I hope you find your dog. Let me know if you need anything. And he goes, sets his toolbox in the truck. We get a nice sharp close-up of a hammer sitting on top of his toolbox in the truck. And then back outside, Mina's like, actually, could I show you one more thing? And he's like, yep. And like he turns and you watch him shake his head as like no good deed goes unpunished as he follows her back into the house. And she confronts him.
Yeah. And I like your head move when you said that. Can you do that again?
No. So
okay.
They go into the bathroom together and she's like, we caught you, dude. Nobody better ever see that tape or blah blah blah. And he's like, he's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about right now. What's happening?
Well, here's an issue.
The way he
here's
plays
an issue. Yeah. I mean, I guess I can understand that Mina is blind to his reaction, but I was a little frustrated that, like, can't you see that, like, he doesn't actually know? Like, why would you assume that it's him 100%?
Well,
like,
because...
isn't there a possibility... He's not the owner. You know that he's not the owner of the place.
No, but so, he's the manager of the place. There's a framed picture of him holding a beer in the drawer. Like, he has complete run of the place.
So what? Like, why would you assume he's 100% responsible?
Because in Mina's eyes,
she's not
he is a racist piece of garbage.
Okay, but that doesn't mean... That's still... Even if he...
So you didn't think...
Obvious,
so at this point in the movie, you did not think it was Taylor who put the camera there?
I absolutely didn't think it was Taylor.
As soon as you saw the camera, you didn't think it was Taylor?
Oh, I didn't know... At that point, I didn't know. But at this point, especially, I knew.
How far in, though? How far into their conversation?
I would say before their conversation.
Oh,
I would
really?
say when he showed up. When he showed up to fix the hot tub, and the way he was behaving, like... No, I was pretty sure it wasn't Taylor.
I still thought it was him. Only when they got to the conversation where he was like, what is happening? I don't know what's going on right now. Yeah. At that point, I was like, wait, that's weird. And then she's like...
up to that point, before that point, I understood why everyone else would assume it was him. But at that conversation is where I was really like, how can you not, like, at least give him a little benefit of the doubt that it's not him?
So she said, like, she'd call the cops if anything ever happened with that footage. And that's when he got confused. And that's when I was like, oh, wait, okay. And then he looks at it and he's like, "What? I ain't got nothing to do with that shit." And then he pulls out his phone and he's like, "Here, I'll call the cops for you." And that's when you're like 100% sure. And she's like, "No, that's not what I meant." And then this struggle breaks out where she's trying to stop him from calling the cops. Yeah, and I guess I can
understand in the moment that she would still think it's him because she's angry and she's confused.
Well, I think she was angry up until he was calling the cops, and then she knew she screwed up.
I don't know that she knew. I still don't think she knew because, like, what happens after that? She doesn't seem to behave as if there's still someone else out there that watching them.
Well, so no, because I don't think that would be on anyone's mind either at that point. Like, I don't think that they would think that there was somebody on site. Spoilers. I don't think that they would think that somebody was like right around, and even if it wasn't Taylor, then it was probably the owner or somebody. You know, like that was immediately where I was watching with Jill. That's what Jill said as soon as like this whole thing happened. She was like, "Oh my god, it's the owner," and at that point, then, oh well, no, it happens a little later, but so Josh peeks through the window and sees them struggling, not knowing that it's Mina trying to stop him from doing something, not the other way around, busts in a insane stunt, throws a real human being head first into a bathtub in a really hardcore way.
Something broke when it happened. Yeah.
And then he just starts beating him to a pulp.
Yeah.
And it's a nightmare. And at that point, I thought we were going to end up in the movie. I thought the rest of the movie was going to be about them trying to deal with a dead person, and it wasn't yet.
So but you knew that it wasn't him, though.
I didn't. I knew that he didn't put the cameras there, but I thought that the movie wasn't about that. I thought the movie had become about like them having to deal with this mistake that they'd made.
Oh no, I was still expecting something else to happen at that point.
Yeah, not me, man. Well, I mean, I could see it going that way too, but I could also suddenly I was starting to think, is this not a horror movie? Is this a suspense thriller?
Well, yeah. I guess that crossed my mind too. Like, and I think that would have been fine. I would have been cool with that.
Me too. But, I love it when people have to get rid of dead bodies. I think it's so great.
But I also would have liked. I would have liked how it tricked me. Like, because I would have expected was expecting like a horror slasher movie or something.
Yeah.
And it would have been cool also if it just became a problem of their own making completely.
For sure.
And
I see, and that's that whole thing, that Very Bad Things kind of vibe where like all of a sudden
way better, but
yeah. I didn't like Very Bad Things either. But like that vibe where it's like a group of characters who make some assumptions, make a mistake they can't walk away from, and then have to deal with it. Like that's a fun movie concept.
Oh yeah. But it would have been a switcheroo because you were expecting like them to get murdered or something. But that's not what happens. It becomes a horror slasher movie.
Yeah. So like they check, like everybody all of a sudden converges on the bathroom. Michelle checks his pulse and walks away like he's alive. Blah blah blah. Whatever. And then they're all trying to discuss what to do next. Josh is explaining why he did what he did. Mina and Charlie are having a separate like mini conversation about I screwed up.
Normally in situations like this where people cheated and they're not being honest with their significant others about it, they're not telling them.
Yeah.
I'm like you have to tell them. You're a terrible person. I can't believe you are not telling them.
Yeah.
But in this situation I'd be like, that would seem like a little too much right now. Like let's solve this first and then tell them, because that's like
one thing at a time. One thing at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so while they're arguing, someone comes in and murders Taylor.
Yeah, just blocks his nose and mouth until he suffocates. That's it. And then they're still trying to decide what to do about it, who to call, this, that, or the other. And Michelle's like, okay, look, you beat up this guy. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And Charlie's like, they're going to send Josh back to jail. And Josh is like, I was defending. He was attacking Mina. I did nothing wrong. Call the police. Call the police.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, okay. So Michelle goes off to call the police. That's when Charlie goes back to check on him. And he's like, wait. And Michelle hangs up and he's like, he's not breathing. Everybody reconverges on him. No breathing. Josh is like, oh my God, I killed a man. And then they start cycling about that. Michelle's the only one who's like, we have to call the police. And Charlie's like,
Charlie's the adamant one, like, hey, it's all, we got this, guys. Let's just solve this problem.
Yeah,
by
because
ourselves.
at this point, Charlie's convinced that if the police get involved, they will definitely find the tapes that Taylor has been making at his house, or the recordings, and this whole thing, the whole affair will get out again. And so he, and also he doesn't want his brother to go back to jail. Probably.
I think that's one reason. I don't know if that's his prime motivation.
He voices it to Mina,
but yeah, that's true.
He tells Michelle that he doesn't want his brother to go to jail, and Michelle is like, this isn't you there's a dead man. There's no question about this. And Charlie's like, look, if we leave, we check out like normal. Who knows what happened to Taylor? He was drinking, whatever. And Michelle realizes that they're all being serious about this, and she's like, she cannot hack it. She goes and just lays on the bed while they execute the worst getting rid of a body plan.
I really like this whole situation. This whole situation is super interesting. Yeah. Because it's supposed to be a horror suspense movie, and it becomes like a what have we done and how do we cover it up?
Yeah, it becomes an I know what you did last summer.
Except without
the fisherman. So,
yeah. It's just a really interesting conflict all of a sudden. They think they killed a guy. Yeah. And now they're trying to cover it up.
So they just drop him off a cliff, but he doesn't fall all the way to the water. He's laying on a rock. And they start throwing rocks at him, trying to push him all the way in.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Dumbest. But it works in the movie. But it's just it's such a dumb, getting rid of a body plan.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about from Michelle's point of view, I was reminded immediately of of Patriots Day, of the kids who go to jail because they didn't inform the police about the bombing. Yeah, about the person who had the bombs.
Exactly, and Michelle says that too. Charlie's like, we'll say you were never even here if anything happens, and she's like, I'm already guilty. I'm an accomplice the same way that you're an accomplice. Like, even if I don't do anything, I didn't call the police.
Yeah, and I'm glad I saw Patriots Day because now I know the consequences of what happens if you allow people to do bad things.
Sure,
I would have. I would have totally done bad things. I would. I would.
Those kids are one thing, but like these people would never have been able to call the police anyway because one of them was brown and they would have just shot their friend.
What?
The police would have just shot Mina because she's not white.
Oh, well, I guess so. But no, but like just as soon as Michelle found out what they were doing and they were going to do it and she didn't want them to, like I empathize with her even more because I was thinking about real situations like Patriots Day, and I was like, what if my friends all of a sudden ganged up on me because of something like that? Like, like I would definitely. I'm always someone who's going to do what I want to do regardless. So, but I definitely would call the cops, but I would have to figure out how to do it without them knowing. That would be really hard.
Yeah. What if China killed somebody and was just determined to get rid of the body?
I'd call the cops.
Oh,
this is going to be on the internet, Jake. This is going to be on the internet. I have to say that.
No, but Craig, I mean, the internet is about the truth. It's not about covering your ass.
I'm saying the truth.
Okay.
And yeah,
cool.
Well, I really hope this video doesn't become relevant someday.
So they're doing that while the three accompli are trying to push a body further off of a cliff. Michelle hears a shower running. So she goes and she looks at one shower, but the shower running sound stops. Nope. Okay. She goes to check on the other shower. Shower running sound stops and starts again. Not that shower. She follows the sound upstairs. It is a television playing the feed from the shower of Mina and Charlie, as they say, doing it.
They say that?
Yeah. That's the only thing they say.
Wow. That slang was too... I couldn't understand what you were saying. I don't know what you were referring to.
It's too modern?
Doing what?
Is it too modern for you?
Yeah, doing what?
The beast with two backs, Craig.
I don't know if I've ever heard that before. The beast with two backs. Okay.
So she immediately is like, no. She runs to the car and is taking off. They have successfully gotten Taylor's body into the surf at this point. Charlie sees her booking out. He runs after the car and she stops. She actually stops, rolls down the window, and this is the greatest. Michelle is like, I saw you and Mina. And he's like, oh my God, it meant nothing. I'm so sorry. I don't know where you, and she's like, I saw it. It was playing on the TV. And he's like, just let me, he's like trying to talk her through it. And he's like, hold on. First of all, where did you see the footage? and she's like, who are you? And she bolts out of there in the car. Yeah. And I thought that was so masterfully, because at this point they have the decision that the cameras are so small that they have to be wireless. So the receiver has to be somewhere on the property. They're going to get that, get the footage, and get out of there like nothing happened. And then when Taylor doesn't show up, Taylor fell off a cliff or whatever. That's their whole plan. Yeah. Not a bad one. It's simple.
But in that moment, it's like, okay, Charlie doesn't really care about the relationship as much as he cares about not being caught for murder. Yep. Or like his brother being caught for murder.
Yeah. At this point, it becomes more about that than the relationship at all. And she takes off. They go back to the house and are just searching everywhere. That's when they break into the closet and find nothing, which I thought was super cool. Because it's like, whoa. Yeah. All right. Michelle, we don't know initially, but like she loses control of the car, hits a tree, comes back in the coolest shot of the movie because she's got her flashers on. She walks back and sees a tire strip, one of those things that you drive over and it blows all the tires, like a nail strip.
Tire poker outer.
That's what it's called. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
TM. Yeah. Registered. And the flashers on the car are behind her, and like she's so subtly lit, and the flashers are flashing behind her, like lighting up her hair and profile from the back. It's so cool looking and so simple and so natural, but still looks so haunting. Like it's little stuff like that makes it so super cool. And she goes back and she's like trying to text Charlie, and this is why. So horror audiences are split on this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like horror Twitter and horror Facebook, at least the groups that I belong to, are kind of...
Isn't that all of Twitter and Facebook?
Correct.
Okay.
We have a good time. So those communities are kind of split on it. And I think it's mostly because most of it is this relationship drama, which I thought was great. And then when you do get to the point where someone's running around killing people, it is the last 20 minutes of the movie are a slasher movie.
Yeah.
Like that, when you get there, is largely bloodless. There's one huge gore gag. That's it. One big gore gag, and the rest of the violence is handled practically off screen.
Yeah.
Which works great because she's trying to text whatever, and then the
first
figure
of all,
emerges from the forest.
I do not understand the desire for lots of gore. I didn't feel like I was missing anything.
Yeah, we've been over this before in our Suspiria episode. Like, we just have very different feelings on gore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like incredibly I'm not saying, ooh, bad, you shouldn't do that, or I'm like really repulsed. It's more like I'm not entertained by it. Like I don't feel anything from it. Like what I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
You know?
I dig it. It's we did this in the Suspiria episode already, so like I don't need to go over the whole thing again, but I don't a gore doesn't make or break a movie for me. I know it also doesn't for you. Like if it's still a good movie that has gore, it's still a good movie. But like gore is not the only, if a movie is just gory, it's not going to entertain me. It has to have other stuff in it. But I do enjoy a good dose of gore. I can't lie. Like I like, when it gets gory in a Saw movie, like that's the best part of the Saw movies is when the traps happen. Like,
all right.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of Saw, so I don't know. But I doubt I'd feel the same way.
Yeah.
About
I don't know that you should see Saw.
Okay.
Playgrounds are dangerous.
Yeah. Okay, I won't see Saw anymore.
Nice. Saw 2, however, that one's worth a watch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anywho,
you shouldn't see Saw, but you should see Saw 2.
Why are they split? Why are they split on this movie?
I think it's because of the how much of the movie isn't horror specific. Yeah. And how when you do get to the horror, how it's very naturalistic and not like it's not super
over
gory.
The top.
Yeah, not over the top. It's not super gory, and the method of kills is only one way. He has a hammer.
If it would have been more than that, I would have liked it less. I feel like this was great. Yeah. Like the way it was handled. For this movie,
this is the perfect way to handle it.
Yeah. I don't like horror movies. I can like a horror movie. I can like a slasher movie, but usually they're not my thing.
Yeah.
Unless they're exceptional. This was exceptional. This was really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, this to me was a movie that was trying to be all aspects of good, not just, I'm going to be good at slashing and making gore, you know?
Yeah.
This was like, actually just trying to be a generally completely good movie.
Yeah.
To me. That's how I see horror. It's not a completely good movie most of the time.
I know, Craig. I know. You and a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's a certain person drawn to it. But I mean, like, you like good. Did you ever see Misery?
No, I never did see
That's a great horror movie, man. And I think you would really dig that one.
Like that.
I think you would like that one a lot. Yeah. I don't know why that one came to mind for this. Maybe it's because it's housebound. Yeah. Anyway, I recommend that. Look. We're going to watch some horror movies, you and me. The good ones.
Oh, we have.
Yeah. But you've seen a lot of bad ones with me, too. But you like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I like some of Texas. I like the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You like that one, and
more than the other ones.
And you like the remake.
This movie had a scene that was straight out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the first one. Like, he opens the closet, boom, hits on the head, dead. That happens in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I feel like that was a direct callback to Texas Chainsaw in this movie.
Okay.
You don't think so?
No.
Really?
So like he
really,
basically, yeah. I don't think so. Huh. I honestly don't think Dave Franco and Joe Swanberg, maybe Joe, but I don't think Dave Franco is. I think he directed it very well, but I don't think he's a big horror guy.
Yeah, but I guarantee you he's seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Maybe.
I guarantee you he was inspired by that for that one kill.
Yeah, that kill was awesome. However, it wasn't an immediate kill because he was still crawling around, whatever. He had to turn the hammer.
Okay, it took 20.
He had to turn the hammer from the hammer side to the claw side, and this is the one big gore moment because when he puts the claw side into Josh's head, you see it. See it.
And it works really well for who would probably be the audience for this movie, which are people who watch adult drama type stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
Perfection.
Like, because it's not like, it doesn't go full horror, full gore fest, because that's not probably the majority of the audience of this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
And that I think that's probably why it's also done so well, is because, done so well with the theatrical release and everything, and people renting it on all the streaming services at full price. It's because it appeals to more than the horror audience, and I think that's also why the horror audience is split on it. Some people are like, no, that was just a good movie that had good horror elements, and the horror heads are like, it's not a horror movie, you know. But they do that about everything. Those guys did that about Get Out. It's like, guys, get real. Who cares? That movie's awesome.
Well, what do they ultimately want? They want every movie to be a pure horror movie?
Dude,
is that what they want?
And the community's so bisected over everything. It's like the people who even like the remakes don't like that this one little part from the original wasn't in it, but the rest of it was okay, I guess. There's just so much little nitpicking. Every community is like this, I'm sure. But once you get around the thing that you love, you champion this one thing from your childhood, and then you nitpick everything that's current. So Rob Zombie, I listen. The guy's movies, if you can hear the dialogue, are awful. If you're just watching the visuals, watching the director's commentary, they're a good time. Now, on podcasts, this guy's fascinating. He's the least horror-ish person on a podcast. Rob Zombie. Yeah. And he said it perfectly when he was like, everybody hated House of a Thousand Corpses when it came out. 10 years later, everybody loved it. Everybody, every movie I make, Lords of Salem, everybody hated it. It came out. Now, what is it, 10 years later? Now people are talking about how great it is. Everybody hate the thing you're doing now. They love the thing 10 years ago. Just make the thing you want to make. In 10 years, it'll be great.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, we got off track here. So everyone starts dying, basically, is what happens.
Yeah.
In the movie.
So Charlie...
Alison Brie gets...
Alison Brie texts
very quickly,
Charlie.
very quickly dies.
You don't even see it.
Hit at...
You just see the guy with the hammer running at her car, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, but it totally works narratively because the conflicts have all been resolved. The relationship stuff that has been building throughout this movie.
Yeah,
it's resolved, and then they die.
Well, it's resolved.
Basically,
Charlie and Michelle is still resolved. You see Josh have a heart-to-heart with Mina about how he's dragged her into this, and it hurts Mina so badly because she knows she's the one who created this situation on almost every level.
Yes.
And so that's still happening. There's still a little bit
of
relationship-iness.
But again, that's another moment where normally I'd be like, well, just tell him the truth. But at this point, he thinks he just murdered a guy.
Yeah, it's let's
maybe wait. Let's wait.
Let's wait a little bit. Yeah. And
so this isn't the right time.
Charlie gets a text from Michelle's phone that says the car ran off the road up. So he's like, Michelle's in trouble. I'm gonna go get her. So he runs out, and it's so creepy. It's so creepy. Again, he walks into slowly the red lights of the blinkers start flashing on his face as he gets closer, and then he gets past them. All the lighting is so super cool. And then he comes in, and he's like, the car's empty, and he's like, Michelle, and then her phone screen is illuminated in the woods, and he's like, oh, thank God, and he starts walking toward it. And as soon as he gets close, he sees Michelle's body bloody on the ground, and boom, hit in the head with the hammer.
Yeah. And then Josh is running through the house.
Yep.
Look, at some point.
So here's what happens there. Okay, so as soon as Charlie dies, Mina is upstairs. Mina is upstairs going through puzzles, and one of the puzzles, the set design, I only caught it the second time, but there's an upward angle, and she's on the floor surrounded by puzzles, and the puzzle closest to her is titled simply Lost in Puzzles, and it's what they are as well. So I thought that was so funny. But so Josh comes up and he's like, I just got this voicemail from Charlie. And it's them talking at the table. It's the conversation they had where she's like, we're smarter than this. He's like, I know we are. She's like, it can never happen again. And he's like, oh, I know it can't. And so Josh is like, what can't happen again? And her face says everything immediately. Yeah. She doesn't even try to lie because she can't. It's over for her. And then the video file shows up on his phone. She's like, don't watch that. She's like grabbing for it. Josh is like, oh my God. And then he's like, Charlie. And he starts tearing through the house.
Well, first of all, he's not like, oh my God. He did.
Yeah, no. But like most of my reenactments aren't completely accurate.
It's just funny. It'd be funny if he was like, oh my God. Okay, I gotta go. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing, I usually reenact them a little different than they happen in the movie. But so he's like tearing through the house, and we're seeing it on the security camera footage. So we see that there's a camera in the entryway, there's one in the bedroom, there's one in the thing, and he's going through opening closets. And I really thought as soon as he opened a closet and walked away, we were gonna see the guy come out of one of them. But nope.
Yeah.
Just like you said, when he gets to the entryway, he opens the closet, hammer in head, dead, claw, boom. Mina sees it. She's like,
straight
oh my God.
Out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. Straight out of it. Yeah.
So Mina sees it, and she books it, being chased by this guy who looks like a super old man.
Well, okay, so let's go back. That's one little issue I had again was with Josh. Like, why would he? Was he looking for Charlie? Was he looking for Charlie in closets? Like, why would he not have assumed something else was happening? Like, why would he like suddenly be like, I gotta find Charlie in closets now? Well, like, why would
Charlie wasn't in any of the main rooms, and so he started looking through spaces, I guess. The only
but why would he? Wouldn't he think that something else was afoot?
Well,
here? Like,
at this point, he wasn't as concerned about that as the fact that his worst fear had come true, that he had been cheated on by his girlfriend that he loved.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, his vision was clouded by the images he had just seen.
I suppose so, but like he just heard Charlie's like, Michelle's in trouble, I have to go. And
everything out the window.
I don't know. I guess he was set up as like not as intelligent as everybody else.
Ooh, but burn, Craig. You were such a coastal elite.
No, he said it himself.
I don't know.
That was a little too much.
Logic problems aside, Josh gets killed. Mina hides. There's a guy with a hammer, in an old man mask, kind of chasing her. Can't find her. She runs out of the house. He tackles her. It's super scary. She stabs him in the face with a pocket knife. This is just the beat by beat, guys.
Yeah. This to me was the most like traditional horror moment was when he pulls the knife out of his face. He's like unaffected.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then he goes after her.
Yeah. Chases her through the woods. Yeah. This is super horror movie here. This is foggy woods. Woman running from man with hammer. And then it's been played up a couple times. Like she runs off the cliff. They alluded to it.
Yeah, but you never see her die. You never see her body.
Exactly. So they alluded to it a couple times here where when Reggie disappears, Josh is like, what if he fell off the cliff? And then they throw Taylor off the cliff. So you clearly know that the cliffs are around. Like, it doesn't come out of nowhere.
Right.
She's looking over her shoulder in the fog, trying to get away from him. And the second time I watched it, they do it very cool because it's trees. The trees disappear. She's still in the fog. You're like, uh-oh. And then off the cliff she goes. I would have liked... He looks over and there's no, like, Taylor-ish outcroppments for her to have landed on or whatever. It's just the ocean. But I would have liked him to hang out there until, like, dawn, watching the waves to make sure she didn't come crawling out of anywhere.
Yeah.
He just stands there for like a minute and leaves.
Yeah, well, I buy that. Like, I think that he, at that point, he's probably like, I should probably get out of here. Like,
but why? Like, nobody called anybody. Nobody did anything.
Well, I guess he might have time, but at some point, someone's coming because Taylor's dead, and he's not going to respond.
For sure, but not that day. The only person who was going to show up that day was Taylor to, like, do the check, like, make sure they left the place okay.
Unless there's other bookings, like other Airbnb bookings.
That's a good point, but he could have at least waited till morning. Or
maybe,
but it didn't have to be morning. I just thought it would have been a cool shot. You're right. He had a lot of work to do.
He had a lot of cleanup to do.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I don't think he cleaned up the bodies at all.
He didn't?
No. All he did was go around taking all of his gear.
Maybe he did. We just didn't see it.
No, because we watch him walk with his nail strip past the dead bodies.
Interesting.
It's the last thing he does is he throws his nail strip into the pickup truck and he just walked by the dead bodies in the woods.
Still had a lot of cleanup to do. Though.
Oh yeah, he had to get
blood and
every
stuff.
Camera.
He probably cleaned up the body in the house.
I don't know.
Assume.
I don't know if he even did that. Because it's not about that. It's about getting his gear. Because the entire last sequence of the movie, chillingly, is him renting a new Airbnb and planting a whole bunch of cameras.
Yeah. What is he renting or is he buying? He's buying a new Airbnb, buying a place.
I think he was renting it. Because she said, like, enjoy your stay.
But it's like a new Airbnb. There's different people that stay at it now. Right?
Well, no. So here's what it is, Craig.
Okay.
He's a guy who rents an Airbnb, does all that stuff to it, and then leaves and waits for the person he wants to kill to come into it.
Oh, right.
So that was okay. So maybe I came away with that because of the Fangoria article. Dave Franco's like, not only do you not know who you're renting from, you don't know who's rented there.
Yeah. Okay. That's true.
Yeah. So the entire end credits go over footage of people renting the space you just saw him putting cameras in. And then the last shot in the credits before the full credit roll is him coming out on a sleeping couple about to bludgeon him.
Yeah. Pretty good. Oh, yeah, I also really liked the shot of him coming at the car when Michelle was in the car.
Yeah.
Like the...
it's really good. They cut away right before he impacts.
Yeah, it's out of focus from the side of Michelle's face. Did we talk about this?
No, I did a little bit, but you blew by it.
Because I don't listen to you. But,
it's because I'm not angry or on drugs. I'm telling you, they're the only two interesting things.
Okay, I'm starting to come around. Anyway, camera's over here pointing on the side of Michelle, like pointing at her profile out the driver's side window. Yep. And then in the background, it's really blurry, dark guy running the window. Full speed, cut right before he gets to the window.
Yeah, it's like...
it's real good.
She like turns and like, that's it.
Really good.
Yeah.
I like that kind of thing a lot. You see, if it were traditional horror, it'd be like, oh, he broke the window. Oh, he smashed her head 8 times. I'd be like, it would have been more interesting if they cut before then, to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe not me. Yeah. Depends on how it all panned out.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Awesome, guys. So that is The Rental, directed by Dave Franco, starring the people we mentioned before. Available now on streaming and probably still in theaters. Not a lot of new stuff coming out.
No. As it shouldn't.
Highly recommended. I hope you checked it out before listening to all the spoilers. If you don't, if you've listened to this and haven't seen it, I still think it's worth checking out.
Oh yeah, it's very good. I think you should watch on it.
That is MOVIED for this week, and scene.
Movie. Scene. Wait, that's my line.
You didn't come. I was waiting too long.
Wow. I'm trying to think of a way to tie this into the movie. It's not working. Never mind.